Hey guys, and welcome to episode 5 of the GDX podcast. I'm your host Chris, and with me we have Kaleb.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on, Mr. K-Train?
Not too much. It's been a while. We've been playing a lot of games. We got a big game coming tomorrow.
Yes, we're on the eve of the re-release of Resident Evil 2.
We are. We are on the eve of Remake 2.
Yeah.
It's a glorious day.
We're about 5 hours out as of right now.
12 p.m. EST is when it unlocks.
Yeah. So,
I take it you're gonna be waiting with bated breath to set it up.
it's already downloaded.
Okay.
I usually go to sleep about 1 a.m. these days, so I might play for like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Might play for like 20 minutes.
And then wake up in the morning and beat the whole thing.
Yeah, wake up in the morning and beat the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And forget to choose B-side story and just play Claire's A-side story and be like, oh, what the fuck? Why is this all the same enemies and all the same puzzles? This isn't different at all.
Just play Claire's A-side and pretend like that's how the game's supposed to be played. To be fair, I guess that it kind of makes sense if you've literally never played Resident Evil 2, but as someone who played that growing up, it's just so baffling that you could not imagine that exists. That's just me. But yeah, and for anyone who's confused, IGN's reviewer. So all the Resident Evil 2 reviews dropped on Tuesday for all the gaming sites and the blogs and everything. And Resident Evil 2, the reviewer for IGN didn't play the second campaign with the other characters. So he played the first time with Leon and then didn't play with Claire, even though that's how the game is set up. You're supposed to get like a totally new campaign to play with the other character.
He played as Claire. He just didn't choose the option to play the B scenario, like Claire B.
Well, he saw like scenario B as an option, and I guess just didn't even he literally didn't even acknowledge its existence. He just started the entire game again from the scratch and just chose her instead.
Yep.
Which is like, it's like if someone played the original Resident Evil 2, beat the game with Leon, and then when it was like ready for scenario B, you said no, and you put the other disc in, and you were like, I'm going to play the other character's A. That's basically what happened here. But jokes aside, Resident Evil 2 is coming out tomorrow.
Damon. That's Damon Hatfield. He was the reviewer over at IGN. He's like one of the old dogs over at IGN. And he's usually a really good reviewer, and I usually really like his take on things. So I'm going to say that this was like an oversight and not so much like the hate that he's been getting. I don't think he deserves all of it. I will say that.
Yeah, well, that raises even more of a question of like whether he played the original ever or just didn't know that there was or just didn't expect them to include like the zapping system at all. I don't know. It's strange. I'm not going to shed on him too hard.
Wait, there's a zapping system?
Kind of not really. Like, not zapping in the same way as like an A and a B for both, but like just a second campaign with the other character that like kind of overlaps with. There's not quite a zapping campaign, I don't think. I think it works similar, but not quite to the extent that it did in the original 2.
When I hear the zapping system, I automatically think of the zapping system from Resident Evil 0.
Oh, when you switch back and forth between the characters? No.
Like, on the fly, you press a button to zap between the two characters, which is why like, a lot of people have been using that term zapping system, and I'm like, when Resident Evil zapping system to me has always meant the zapping system from Resident Evil 0, where you zapped between characters.
Interesting. Okay. I guess I could see that. I know that it was, the term itself was originally coined specifically in reference to RE2, because technically that was what they thought of it as, like, you finished with one character and then zapped to the other, but, there was a switching system in RE0, for anyone who played RE0.
RE0 is one of my favorite Resident Evils.
RE0 is one of the final classic Resident Evils to release, and it's still really good. It's very overlooked, I think. Just because people were probably getting tired of the formula by then. Because that was just before 4. That was like a year or two before 4 dropped.
It's the final traditional Resident Evil. And it was only ever released on GameCube originally. And then it had been re-released on like PS4 and Xbox and stuff like that later on down the road. But it was originally only back in the day. Never released on PS2, never released on Xbox.
Yes, I remember getting a GameCube just for, well, not just for, but especially for Remake, and then obviously RE0 dropping just made me that much happier, although not as many people were into it, it sounds like. But what's going on? What are you playing, Chris? It's been like a month since Christmas and everything going on.
Well, our last podcast hit on January 4th, so it's been 20 days.
Okay.
And just let you guys know, we try to do this weekly. It's just that real life does get in the way for both me and Kaleb. So we try our best. And I apologize. I know you guys send in emails to be like, oh, you're taking a break again. No, we're not taking a break again, I promise. Lately, I went through Dark Souls on the Switch for my first time playing through Dark Souls completely.
Yes.
I did that. Which, let me tell you, I wish I would have played that game all the way through when I had played it originally back on, what is that, PS3?
Yeah.
With you. Because the last time I'd gotten up to Sen's Fortress, and it was just kind of a roadblock for me, and I could never get past Sen's Fortress.
Yes. So I just want to take a moment here to say, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. We got him into Dark Souls.
And now I'm fucking hooked. I went out and was like, I have 20 GameStop dollars. What can I buy? And I was like, oh, I can buy Dark Souls 3. So I did.
Oh, no, it's a good purchase. Dark Souls 3 is maybe my personal favorite, but...
Now, the funny thing about that is, now I kind of want Dark Souls 1, the remaster, on the PS4, just so I can have them all on the PS4.
See, that was one of the reasons why I went for it as opposed to Switch, was partly because I got some money for Christmas for PSN, but also just because I like the idea of having all of them here, which was the plan originally. The only one I didn't have was this one. I have 2 and 3 and Bloodborne and everything. Not Demon Souls, but that's, it's other...
They've never re-released Demon Souls. You can only get it on PS3.
Yeah, that was a topic of conversation during an interview with Miyazaki earlier this week. Actually, because someone finally, he's been doing obviously a lot of interviews and stuff, hyping up Sekiro, which sounds fantastic. It sounds way more campaign and story oriented than any of the other Dark Souls or Bloodborne. But he mentioned that he would be interested in remaking / remastering Demon Souls, but it's a very touchy subject with him because it's the first game he ever really helmed, and he may not look back on it as favorably when he goes back to fuck around with the original assets and everything. He may just feel shitty about himself for because it doesn't necessarily stack up mechanically with some of the newer ones. But he also mentioned he'd be super down if someone was willing to remaster it. He would give his blessing if a company came to him and wanted to do that. So it may just be a matter of time. But who knows? I think Sony holds the rights still.
Yeah,
though.
That's the thing. It'll be a Sony exclusive. We will never play Demon Souls on the Switch.
No, definitely not. That will not happen.
I'm really hoping that we get Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin on the Switch now.
Yeah, I think they are planning to do that, but I don't think it's going to be remastered in the way that Dark Souls Remastered was. I'm pretty sure that I think there are plans to bring it over just as a plain port.
Right, kind of like
Scholar of the First Sin.
Right, like Scholar of the First Sin, the PS4 version.
Yeah, but I think that's the plan now. I'm not sure. Well, they're working on Sekiro, and then I think they have another team From working on something else that has not been announced yet. Very, very possibly likely, and they're just not willing to say anything yet. But
that's what I want. I want Bloodborne 2 because out of the Souls Borne games, Bloodborne is my favorite game. And
go ahead.
I've beaten Dark Souls 1 now. I've pretty much beaten Dark Souls 2. I re-downloaded everything for Dark Souls 2 the other day, and I signed in, and I'm at the really fast dude with the big sword in the DLC at the bottom of the tower. And I've played 40 hours of Dark Souls 3, and I've played and beaten Bloodborne. And out of all of them, Bloodborne is my favorite game.
Yeah, I actually, funny you mentioned that. I was, over the holiday season, during the break, I played through Bloodborne again, kind of on a whim. And it's been at least 2 years. And I had forgotten. It's one of those games where you kind of just, for me at least, I kind of just forget about it until I actually pick it up again, and then I'm like, wow, this game is way better than I even remember. And then I just completely plow through it. And Bloodborne is still definitely... I don't enjoy the mechanics as much just because you can't do as many crazy things with character creation, but as far as lore and world building, it's probably top for me of all of them. But no, Bloodborne is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I love Bloodborne.
Yeah, and now you got me into it, and I stepped away from Dark Souls Remastered briefly for a week or two, and I'm coming back to finish it because I'm really happy with this character, and I do probably want to take him into New Game Plus.
What'd you build this time around?
So this time I actually went for a full Pyromaster. I've tried Pyros before. No, I tried a Pyro once in Dark Souls, and Pyros destroy everything in Dark Souls, especially the first one. But the first one, for anyone who's listening, I've talked with Chris about this, but in the first Dark Souls, it is hard to start as a Pyromaster. It picks up pretty quick, and eventually you're burning everything down. But when you're first going, you're squishy, and you don't have a lot of fire to use, and you're being really careful. Which is one of the reasons why I tried and dropped it in the past. But no, I'm really going with it this time, and I'm really happy with what I made. And just to kind of explain more, like, this is kind of how I approach the Souls series in general. For me, anyone who's listened will know that I'm like super into these games, and I talk about them a lot. That's because for me, at least, they're like a palate cleanser in between major releases. And I approach character creation in Dark Souls the same way someone might approach like building a model airplane or something like that. So like it's something that it's still a video game, but it's obviously like something I don't necessarily need to focus too heavily on when I'm playing. I can be doing other things and like listening to music and podcasts, but it's just like there's something super satisfying about Souls in how intricate you can get in terms of character creation and stat assignment and like weapon attachments and things. You can get so creative in this game, it's insane. And that's what keeps bringing me back, even if like, I mean, I love the lore and the stories too, but like just there's always a part of me like deep down that's like, has like tabs open on my browser looking at different builds, just like thinking about what I might want to build 2 to 3 months down the road. No, and it's good to see you jumping into it too, although I don't know how into like the intricacies of character creation you are. I'm super into the numbers game and all that, but like, well, like what do you enjoy most so far? I guess just about Dark Souls, the first one, because it's got to be an interesting experience finally going through.
All right, for me, I really liked my build for my first playthrough, my fresh playthrough, my first time playing through the game. I really liked my build. I did a faith strength build. I was basically, a holy paladin. I wielded a plus 15 mace because I played the numbers game. And I finished around level 100 when I beat the game, and I loved it. And I loved like the fact that it's like creating a D&D character.
Yes, very much so.
So
very
like,
much so.
Because there's not a lot of story about the chosen undead, like I made up my own like backstory for my old lady chosen undead, and like the shit that I did. And New Game Plus, my first New Game, I'm on my third New Game Plus right now. My third time through the game right now. The second time, I decided that I was going to, because you don't need any special stats to be a pyromancer.
Yeah, and especially when you hit New Game Plus and you have all the stats you need anyway.
And I had purchased all the pyros already.
Yeah, everything goes out the window in New Game Plus. You get some crazy shit
so
when you keep going.
I purchased all the pyromancies already.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it. I already have a bunch of slots in attunement, so I can have a bunch of pyromancies. I'm just going to play a pyromancer build this time. So I killed Solaire the first time I ran into him. I tossed on his armor, and I'm running around the game as Solaire as a pyromancer. And that's what I did for New Game Plus. And now the third time around, I'm going straight strength build. So I'm wielding the biggest weapons that I possibly can. I can mid-roll in Havel's armor right now because of my endurance and my strength.
That is ridiculous, but I applaud that. That's
so
good.
I was like,
good shit.
I just want to beat things in the face. And so far, the straight strength build has been the one that I've been able to destroy Smongstein with the best.
Nice.
I was able to kill regular Smaw in 3 hits, and then I was able to kill Big Ornstein in like maybe 5 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah. yeah, that's when it gets crazy. I was almost going to send you, someone was playing through Dark Souls 3 on, it must have been like New Game Plus 7 or 8, but it's literally just a 6-minute compilation of them going up to every single boss and literally just stabbing them and killing them in one hit. It's ridiculous. Like even the DLC bosses, it's crazy. Once you start breaking the game on the higher levels, you can do some of the craziest bullshit.
I think I'm ready for a naked run of Dark Souls 1 though.
Yeah, I was wondering if I wanted to do not necessarily a naked, but a level 1 run, just because I've never tried it, but I may be able to pull it off. because I know that people have done that too. Naked runs those are tricky too.
That's the thing. It's like this is the thing. I've played Dark Souls 2, and I'm not as good as the combat in Dark Souls 2 because it's so refined compared to the controls and the combat of Dark Souls 1.
Yes, I would say
I'm
that.
bad at Dark Souls 2 combat, but I'm great at Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 combat because Dark Souls 1 Remastered has Dark Souls 3 combat.
Yes, just slightly faster because in accordance with like it's Dark Souls 1 mechanics, but it's halfway to Bloodborne in terms of its speed.
Right.
I guess it's very much similar. It's very similar.
So
two is its own beast. It's obviously still really similar, but it does some funky things. But it makes it fun.
Out of the Souls games so far, 2 has been my favorite. I want to actually beat 2.
2 is really great, and I think we were talking about this offline at one point, is just like, I really like 2 too. I think 2 has some really crazy lore that's super interesting, but it's just not as favored as the others and kind of looked down upon because of some of the ways it changes, and some might argue breaks some of the mechanics. I think it has some good things and it has some bad things. I think they threw a lot at the wall when it came to 2 to see what would stick as far as how they could not necessarily refine, but almost like remix the mechanics, but still kind of keep it feeling similar to 1. And some of it stuck and some didn't, but it just gives a different experience. And I think a lot of people didn't like that. Which is fine though. Like, it's still a really good game, and I think it's still worth definitely playing as part of the series. I still really love it as a game, and some of the interesting stuff you encounter.
Dark Souls 3 though, like, I really need to get into that because I have a character on there that I've played for 37 hours who's only level 20. So there's definitely something wrong. There's something wrong with that character. So I don't know what's wrong with that character, but I'm gonna roll a new character. I think I want to do a spear build in Dark Souls 3 because I've yet to really mess around with the spears in the game. Like, I want a pole arm.
Spears are super fun. They also make it easy to be super super cheesy. Hiding behind a shield and poking things with spears is like a time tested tradition of cheesing your way through Dark Souls.
So that's what I want to do for 3. I want to play because the other thing I really got into was Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yes,
and now I really want to play like a Cassandra build.
Yeah, you could do some interesting things. You'd have to. You could pull like a dueling dagger and put it in your left hand for parrying, actually, and you could do some interesting stuff.
I know.
You could do some crazy shit. It wouldn't be exactly the same, but it would probably be somewhat similar in how you make
fun.
it. Yeah,
it'd be fun.
It would be super out there, but you could do some interesting things. Well, so that's the thing about Dark Souls 3, and this is true of all of the Dark Souls for me now, but it was most true of 3 because that's when things really started to click for me, like in my head. I'd say come up with a general idea for a build when you jump into 3, but then let yourself be creative as you get there. Because I started to pick up some of the mechanics and some of the details of character creation way more in 3 than the others, because it's so much more. There's even more depth in terms of 3. So like that's why I started with a pyromancer, and then halfway through I was like, you know what, I could use this weapon if I put a few skills into this thing, and I could use this particular like item if I put a few skills into this thing, and now I have just this weird combination of like a pyromancer who's also super fast and dual wields twin swords like a maniac. Like you can create the craziest shit in 3 of all of them.
Well, we're gonna co-op 3 together. That's what we've decided. 3. We're gonna co-op 3 together.
They did break poise in 3, which I will say is unfortunate, but there are still some crazy mechanics they added to kind of make up for it, I'd say. You've mostly been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Dark Souls Remastered since the 4th, the past 3 weeks, I should say?
And a shit ton of Diablo 3 because the new season started about a week ago.
Yeah.
I play a lot of Diablo 3.
Yeah, I've been bouncing between a few games. That's the thing. I was having trouble picking up something over the past few weeks, and I bounced between a few different games. but like not many of them stuck. Even Dark Souls Remastered, like I got up to the end of the game and then just kind of stopped paying attention and I realized what it was. It's because I just want to play Resident Evil 2. And like everything else just feels like biding my time. And it's not like, it's hard to really invest. So I've been jumping between a few things. I picked up The Order because I bought it for like $3 on a sale. And I actually really like that game, although apparently it's really short and I'm almost done.
That's the thing. I will say this. The Order 1886 is a phenomenal game that's 6 hours long.
Yes, it is beautiful. The gameplay is a little too streamlined and linear.
But the combat and the stuff that they introduce in that game, when that game's over, and you say that you're almost at the end, you probably are. When that game's over, you're like, man, this was a great like proof of concept for a game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you play the game, or like you're an executive at a game company, and you play the game, and you say, you know what? Try this again, and you just throw more money at them, and you're like, don't worry about this even. Just try it again and see what you can do with this. Because there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and I see a lot of influences from that game, even in some of the games we've been playing the past couple years, in terms of how they manage, like, cinematics and meshing that with gameplay and stuff like that. So, like, there's stuff to be gleaned, and it's interesting. It's just not, like, it's not a full game in and of itself at the end of the day, which is unfortunate.
You know what it feels like? Xbox One had a game called Rise, Son of Rome on it that launched with the Xbox One. And Rise, Son of Rome was a great fucking game. And they touted it as like their perfect Dark Zero for the Xbox One. And it very much felt like perfect Dark Zero for the Xbox One, where it looked pretty, but it was not a great game, but it had a lot of potential. The Order 1886 seems like Sony being like, hey, here is like the tech demo for the PS4.
Yeah, and I was laughing because I saw a lot of people when I started pulling up commentary on the game just to see what most people thought, outside of like the kind of iffy reviews it got when it came out. And that's like the number one comparison people make is to Rise, which is another game I'd wanted to try. I just never had an Xbox One. But it sounds like it has a similar problem, which is unfortunate. But it's just interesting to see.
Yeah, but the Order is a good game. Like I bitch about the Order because I spent $65 on the game.
Yes,
it is not they promise like this big monster huntery game, like not monster huntery like Monster Hunter, but like a game where you're going to be hunting like vampires and werewolves and stuff, and you fight werewolves like 4 times in the game. And every other time you're fighting humans?
Yeah.
And you never fight a vampire? Yeah, they allude to it. There's a bunch of coffins around, but you never fight one. I don't even think you see one in the game. It's been a while, so...
Yeah, I spoilers for this game if anyone does still want to play it. I'm almost done, I think, and I have definitely burned some vampires in their caskets, but I have not actually fought any. I was kind of surprised when they show up, just because I knew so little of the game. But and I think one of the reasons is because I had such low expectations going into it, and I knew that the werewolves weren't even a big part of it. I was kind of like just willing to see where it took me. And with that, it's definitely, I could see this being a great game that would have gotten a lot of attention, a lot of more positive attention, if they'd sold it for like $20-$30. I think that would have been perfect as a proof of concept and just a way to build funds to go at it again. But that is definitely not what happened, as most of you probably know. But what's been going on in the news for you? Because I haven't been paying attention. Well, I've been trying to pay attention, but like there's just not a lot going on just yet. It seems like the big thing that's coming is just Resident Evil Remake.
What's big in the news? Resident Evil 2 one-shot demo came out. We played through that. If you're watching, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you are seeing my playthrough of that game right now.
That's and that was what really convinced me that they knew what they were doing, and this was going to be it, Chief. this is it.
Yeah. Let's see, what else?
Kingdom Hearts 3.
EA canceled another Star Wars game.
EA canceled another fucking Star Wars game. Yeah, I read a lot of interesting commentary and think pieces about that and about what's going on at EA and whether or not it's EA specifically or it's just the Star Wars license is a shitstorm to deal with. I don't know
it's EA. It's EA.
I think it is very much, a lot of it is EA.
Well, this new one is definitely EA. They canceled. Okay, this was the game that Amy Hennig was working on. It was going to be a linear game originally.
Yes.
And they fired Amy Hennig and they canceled it and they closed Volition. Volition? Yes.
Was it
Dead
Volition
Space?
or Visceral?
Dead Space is Visceral. They closed Visceral Games.
Yes.
And
bastards.
They fired Amy Hennig and they said, okay, gamers don't want a linear game anymore. This needs to be a big open world game, and they gave it over to EA Vancouver.
Yes.
And then EA Vancouver has been working on it since then. And they were working on it a little bit before then, but they focused on it, and they were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. But now EA has canceled that game, which was going to be like a bounty hunter game, and said, no, we need to make a smaller, more linear game.
Yeah, well, so no, apparently, and I was talking with some people about this and like breaking down some of the articles. They put that on hold indefinitely, this open world game, and they gave Vancouver a totally separate project, which is like a way smaller game. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds like it might be a multiplayer game even. I'm wondering if it's going to be like a Star Wars Battle Royale, but we just have no idea. We just know it's a smaller project and a smaller game, whatever that means. But it's apparently has no relation, and they're withholding the right to bring this game project back in the future. I don't think they will. But
that's Orca, right?
Yeah, that's Project Orca.
Orca, okay. Now, EA still has an announced Star Wars game that a lot of people were getting confused that that's the one that got canceled, and that's Jedi: The Fallen Order that got announced last year. That has not been canceled as of yet. Yes,
and that will be the first single-player Star Wars game they have released since getting the license, if this comes out. And I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping it's like a spiritual successor to Jedi Outcast.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I know a lot of other people are hoping for it, too.
And then BioWare has come out recently with all of this shit and said, hey, we wanted to make Knights of the Old Republic 3, and EA told us no.
I did not see that. That's pretty shitty.
They were like, hey, LucasArts had a story written for it and everything, and they were getting ready to send it to, like, start being made. So we have all this. We can start working on this game. And EA was like, nah.
That sounds like EA.
So, I don't know. What's some of the other big news? Kingdom
Hearts reviews are just starting to drop today.
They're all pretty good.
This podcast.
They're all pretty good, except for Polygons.
Good. They're 8s and 9s.
Except for Polygons.
Except for Polygons, who didn't even give it a number. But
Polygon doesn't ever give numbers. But I'm big on not looking at numbers and actually reading reviews.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I won't read IGNs anymore.
Why not IGNs? Because of this thing with RE2?
Because of the RE2 stuff, and then the shit with Dead Cells, and they've had too many review problems lately.
Dead Cells was the one where the guy got caught copying most of his review from somebody else, and then he got fired, right?
Yeah, that's Philippe.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Philippe.
Jesus.
So, they had too much water, and
no one's ever gonna let them live down too much water.
There's been too many problems with IGN, so I'll look at IGN's number and see how it compares to everybody else. And if it's way off from everybody else's, then I'll read it. But if it's about what everybody, I'm like, what else are they going to say about it? Polygon's review, the guy bitched about the stuff in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah,
that makes Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, which is, I guess it's fair if you never grew up with Kingdom Hearts or like played the other games, but it's kind of like, this is the best version you're going to get of this particular type of game. If you don't like that type of game, then you're just not going to like it, full stop. Like, there's not much you can say. but like he didn't really seem to acknowledge that in his review. He mostly just kind of shit on it for being Kingdom Hearts, which was kind of funny.
There was a really good video by Tim Rogers from Kotaku that came out, and I side with him on this, that because Kingdom Hearts 3 is so far in the making, like there has been so long in the making, and there's so much weird story and stuff wrapped around it, and it is an unreviewable game.
Yes, I heard some people referencing that video too, and I thought that made a lot of sense from what they were saying about it.
Like, it's a really good video, and normally I don't like to, like, shout out other outlets on our podcast and tell you guys to go do it, but Kotaku's one of the few places I like to get information from. So go search out Tim Rogers' Kingdom Hearts 3, his stuff that he said about Kingdom Hearts 3, because he basically says it's an unreviewable game because of all the emotion and everything that is inside and tied into the franchise at this point.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate Kotaku now and then. I feel like they have to try to be the edgy contrarian kid.
No, that's Polygon. That's Polygon.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel I get
Polygon is like, yo, we're gonna give this game a 7 just to give this game a 7.
I kind of get that. Well, so I feel like they're similar, but they come about it from different angles. Like Polygon is much more of the semi-intellectual, like trying to be like super artsy type that explains why this game that's too mainstream isn't that good. Whereas Kotaku's like just kind of shits on stuff for never being progressive enough, and this is coming from a leftist dude, for like games never being progressive enough and never being realistic enough and shit like that. Like I definitely agree. I just feel like they come at it from different sides in how they are contrarian and how they shit on things.
Well, that's the thing, is you have to with all gaming media, including us, you have to kind of wade through some of the personal bias that's there. Like, we don't ever talk about Xbox One shit on here, and it's not because we hate Xbox, it's because the PS4 is just a better console.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, and I got into arguments with some people about this recently, because like I follow Destructoid a lot as like my place of choice, just so you guys know, just because I feel like it's a little more independent than some of the others.
It's all independent. It's all user created stuff. That's why I like D22.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, and I still look at other places to get different opinions on certain things. Like when big games release, I like to see what different people are saying about it, just to get a sense of the game itself and how different people might feel about it. But like, someone posted some articles at the end of the year about what they felt each respective console company should do with their console going forward. And there was the Xbox One was just like a shitstorm of people getting really mad about how Xbox One does have games and it's just overshadowed, and this generation is really bad with its like tribalism, which I do not believe. I think there's some decent games on Xbox One. It's just like, for people like me who bought a PS4 first, it's just hard to like argue to buy that too, when those games are like 7 and 8s, and some of them are fantastic, but like some of the first party games for PS4 have been like 9s and 10s consistently, and they're like system sellers.
I bought my Xbox One first.
Yes, I know that you, and I know for a long time you were really into it and enjoying what they were releasing, even if Hollow and I were giving you a lot of shit for it.
Well, that was the thing, is I had the choice between PS4 and Xbox One, and I chose Xbox One.
Yes.
And I played a bunch of games on it, and there's just, I bought a PS4 down the road, and there's just better stuff on the PS4. Like, that's not saying like, oh, like, I love Sunset Overdrive. It's one of my favorite games of this generation, and it's only available on Xbox One. Skyrim is a much better experience on your Xbox One, because of all the mods that you can have outside assets in the mods and stuff. I don't like Halo. I've never really liked Halo, so I'm not like buying the Xbox One for Halo games. I can't say what first party titles that Xbox has that I want to play. Rare Replay was a great game. It was a great way to run down nostalgia lane for $20.
Yes. And that's the thing. There are like games that I hear about that genuinely sound fantastic on Xbox One. Like I'd like to play Sunset Overdrive at someday, and I'd love to play the Forza Horizon games, which sound amazing. But like when you already have a PS4 and you already have a Switch and you have too many games as it is that you don't play, it's just hard to argue buying another console for me personally. And I feel like a lot of people are probably in a similar space right now this generation as it winds down now, I guess we know. But what were we were originally talking about?
The other game that I will say that everybody should play at some point is Ori and the Blind Forest stuff.
Yes, that's one of the few big indie games I know that they were touting, and that's really good. That and Cuphead, I guess, are like the front runners of their indie scene, I feel like.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I'm looking at first-party Xbox One games. In 2018, they had three first-party title games in 2018.
And what were those first-party games?
Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, I would go with Forza. I might try Sea of Thieves, but I've heard really mixed things about it. And I guess they're still trying to support it and keep it going, which I appreciate. They
have 2 games next year announced as first-party title games. And that's Crackdown 3 and Gears 5. That's this year for 2019.
Yeah. I mean, that's good if you like Gears and you're really into the third-person shooter setup that it has. It's never been... I enjoyed the first few. It's never been, like, one of my favorite franchises, though.
I like Gears. Gears is one of the few, like, everybody's like, oh, Halo, Halo, Halo. And, like, I was like, no, I'd rather play Gears. And, like, Fable's really good. I like Fable.
When was the last Fable full game that released?
Xbox 360, the Kinect game where you had to rub your horse.
That's right. Fable seemed like... I remember playing... I never even played the second one. I did love the first one. Fable always seemed like the kind of series where it was a fantastic game, but it was hyped even above and beyond that when they were trying to like advertise it, and it would just never live up to the expectations that they set, which were too insanely high in the first place, which made it so that people who would otherwise enjoy the game, because it was great, it just never hit that mark, which is why I like the first one and I always wanted to play 2. 3 I heard some mixed things about, but like I've always wanted it to be a series because it's legitimately cool. It's just Peter Molyneux and all that shit. But you know what I have been playing recently, actually, while I've been trying to like merge the empty period until Resident Evil 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 drop. What's that? I've been playing this super weird indie game that came out for Switch, and the only reason I'm saying it's if you want something really unique and really different, I would recommend at least trying it. It's gotten super mixed and super divisive reviews, but it's super interesting. It's this game called Y2K, and it's basically Earthbound if the characters were hipsters in their 20s, and it was written by David Lynch. Like, it's totally batshit, and it's super entertaining, and some of the characters are pretty interesting too, and like the overall story, it just has a lot of problems with some of its fighting mechanics, because it's like a Paper Mario style RPG. It just has some mechanical problems, and it has a lot of mechanics that seem to make the game go really slow sometimes and waste your time. But it is genuinely interesting in terms of its story and what it's doing so far. I think I'm about halfway through it. I'm like 15 hours in, and it's like a 30-hour game, I think.
Wow.
But if you're hankering for a classic style RPG that does some weird bullshit, it's definitely worth looking. And like I said, I only mention it because I can look past the flaws because I like the fact that it's weird and unique. I like that kind of stuff. But some people really shit on it at some of the major review sites, like last week when it dropped.
Okay, really?
Really what?
Some people just shit on it?
Yeah, some people just legitimately shit on the whole thing because of how different and weird it is, and because because some of the fighting mechanics aren't quite up to snuff as much as I might like. But it's worth looking into if like I said, if you guys want a classic style, almost like JRPG style game with a super weird story and weird setup. But other than that, I was gonna say we're just waiting on Kingdom Hearts and Resident Evil 2, and it's really gonna kick off this year.
Yeah, I know my backlog is still so big, and like I want to get into Dark Souls 3, but I don't want to with Resident Evil, and I want to finish Assassin's Creed, and I want to finish my prologue stuff that I haven't finished up in Red Dead, and there's so much stuff I want to play, and I just end up watching CSI and playing Diablo 3.
Yeah, I've been watching The Punisher and a couple other series while I kind of just bide my time. I've like I said, I picked up a few games, but not many have stuck, because at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't know if I can care right now, because it's not Resident Evil 2. So we're getting there. It looks to be a really good year, though, and we talked about that on one of the previous podcasts. With what's already about to come out these first few months, and then kicking off the year. Yeah, I was gonna say, what else do we have in the news that's like coming soon? Because I know when No More Sekiro's in March. No More Heroes just dropped on Switch. I don't know if you cared about that.
It's a remake of the first one.
No, it's a side story actually. That's like kind of different. It's more of a side-scrolling beat 'em up actually, from what I can see.
Is it? Then I don't want to play it.
Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes.
Yeah, I thought that it was just.
No, it's genuine. It's a legitimate like semi-sequel, because it takes place after the second one. It's just a slightly different game where you're getting sucked into different types of games on an imaginary console, and you have to fight your way through different game worlds. It's an interesting premise. It just got like a lot of 6 and 7s when I was like looking across the internet. So I guess it's like it's a niche kind of game. But other than that, just like Resident Evil 2 and Kingdom Hearts is what's been.
Yeah, that's what's in the news. Like and Mysterio being in the Far From Home trailer. That's like the biggest news.
We didn't even talk about the Far From Home trailer. We did briefly chatting on text, but like Far From Home, we already got a trailer for the future of the Marvel franchise post Avengers Endgame. What did you think? What did you think about Far From Home now that we're heading into this strange
I'm really excited.
Era?
I'm really excited to see Robert Downey Jr. take the place of Uncle Ben. So, like, he's not in the trailer. Like, Iron Man, Tony Stark is not in the trailer at all. My thing is like that he's gonna die in Endgame, and he's gonna replace Uncle Ben in that situation. The Far From Home trailer looks good. We're in Europe, which is cool. Mysterio shows up. It is Jake Gyllenhaal. He looks badass. They gave him the fishbowl head. Like
They gave him the fishbowl head.
The elements are there. We got to see the elements, which I was like, holy shit, the elements. Who the fuck knows that they're a Spider-Man villain?
So, and maybe this is a potential spoiler for the movie, but I know this is something that's come up in the comics. The elements are made by Mysterio for him specifically just to defeat, so he can make himself look like a hero.
Not in the comics.
Oh, okay.
They are their own. They are a separate villain in the comics.
Okay. But then how does he go from hero to villain in the comics? Is the story anywhere the same at all, like, in the comics?
Spider-Man's not really my thing.
That's fair. Spider-Man's super weird.
Spider-Man's not like, the only time I really liked Spider-Man was when Doc Ock and Spider-Man switched bodies.
And then Spider-Man in Doc Ock's body died, and we got the superior Spider-Man?
He didn't die. Because they switched back. No, he didn't die. They switched back.
Okay.
But it was really weird. And
that was Superior Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, that was Superior Spider-Man. Doc Ock was... The first time Doc Ock punched something as Peter Parker Spider-Man, he was like, oh shit, Peter could have killed me like 1,000 times. He was holding back the entire time to not kill us all. But the weird thing was...
That's funny.
The weird thing was... when Peter and Doc Ock switched bodies, like they mind swapped... they got each other's full memories.
Oh.
And at one time, Doc Ock was married to Aunt May, which means Peter has memories of banging his aunt as Doc Ock.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But Doc Ock in Peter's body still wants to bang Aunt May, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
'Cause I thought there was some sexual tension there.
No.
Because he was young and raring to go. But
But no, Spider-Man's never been my thing. I don't remember how Mysterio comes about. I know that there is a storyline where he is a hero, quote unquote. Mysterio is a hero who decides that he's gonna put fires out, start fires and then put them out. You know, he has the hero complex.
yeah, and I thought that's what this
story. There is a story. There is a story like that, and that was his whole thing. But my favorite thing about Mysterio is he convinces Logan that all the X-Men are bad guys, and Logan kills them all in Old Man Logan.
Does he really?
Oh my God, yes. Have you never read the Old Man Logan comic?
No, I just saw the movie, which I loved.
Okay, Old Man Logan comic is good. Is amazing. Old Man Logan movie, pretty good. Comic, 3,000 times better. Fucking read the book. There's inbred Incredible Hulk. There's fucking Red Skull has all the villains have won and taken over. Red Skull is in the White House wearing Captain America's outfits.
That's weird.
Fucking weird and crazy. And Hawkeye is a blind sharpshooter. Professor X isn't even in the movie. He's dead already. I mean, in the book, he's dead already. Okay.
I'd heard it was super weird, and there were more characters and more backstory that wasn't really touched on in the movie because they just wanted a dark superhero movie. Or
X-23 isn't even in the comic.
Laura.
Really? Yeah, X-23 plays no part in the story. And at the end of the comic, I will tell you this: Logan doesn't die.
Really?
Yeah, because there's an Old Man Logan 2.
There's an Old Man Logan 2, and is it even crazier?
I haven't read it.
Okay. Did they make it because Old Man Logan, the movie, was such a success?
No, it came out before Logan, the movie.
Okay.
But it's very good. You should pick up the graphic novel of Old Man Logan and read it. It's probably $20. You buy it on Amazon. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's one of my all-time favorite, limited run series of, the past 10 years.
Well, so now that we're on this subject, and I will definitely keep that in mind, while we're on this subject, I have to ask the million-dollar question, which is the Oscars. Do you give a shit, Chris?
About what?
No judgment. Do you care about the Oscars this year?
Fuck no.
No judgment if you don't.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I'm mad that Black Panther got an Oscar nod.
Yeah.
Over shit like Logan.
For viewers out there who like Black Panther, I can appreciate that, but it seems a bit much to get a Best Picture nod, as much as I like it and appreciate it for what it is. Well, I'd say I appreciate it.
It better not fucking win.
Oh no, if it won, there would be...
It better not fucking win.
There are a couple good movies up there, although obviously they have Black Panther and a couple other weird rando ones too.
Is The Death of Stalin up as for Best Picture?
You know what? I don't think so. Did you see The Death of Stalin?
I did. I just watched it a few days ago because it's on HBO right now or something like that.
Is it really?
Yeah, you were talking about it and you were like, oh, it was pretty good. And I was like, oh, I should watch this. So I did. Yeah,
I saw it when it was in theaters and it was hysterical. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's the director, Marco Iannucci, or maybe I'm getting his first name wrong. He's done a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's genuinely really good if you like really dark political humor. This movie goes in even more than some of his other stuff. But, he also made Veep, and he made...
I love Veep.
He made Veep, and he writes for Veep, and he made a movie called In the Loop that you might like. I think it's still on Netflix. In the Loop it's a British film, but it has a lot of American actors because it's about the political maneuverings and shenanigans that went on between British and American politicians to try to sell the Iraq war to the populace. And it gets really fucked up, but it's hysterically funny the entire time, and you have a lot of really terrible, shitty, British and American politicians jockeying with each other in really childish ways. I mean, similar to Stalin, when you got all the guys trying to jockey for the next position.
Okay, now we're talking about the Oscars for 2019.
Yes.
I haven't seen Black KK Klansman yet.
It's good. I really liked it. It's gotten a lot of backlash from certain people who feel that it is too friendly in how it views police relations with like African American community. I didn't get that when I saw it. I felt like overall the image it was portraying of like how officers relate to African Americans and black people is ambiguous, because like some officers are really genuinely good people and some of them are racist pieces of shit in the movie, and it just like varies. But mostly it's just about how the KKK is bad and how a lot of the aftershocks of the KKK in the civil rights era are still being felt today and how that resonates into today. But like for some people, the cop thing was too much and they couldn't get into it.
All I have to say is this, guys. If you're a Klansman, please turn off this podcast.
No,
we don't like your kind.
That's a good start.
Do you know that the KKK was pretty much dead until A Birth of a Nation came out?
Yeah, and the movie goes into that quite a bit, actually.
Oh, does it?
Has some interesting commentary on that. And then so the movie starts with this is a bit of a spoiler, but I think I think just knowing it sets an interesting tone for the movie, because it starts with imagery from The Birth of a Nation, and then like kind of seamlessly transitions into the story, and it ends with the story seamlessly transitioning into footage of the Charlottesville riots in Virginia, and with that girl getting run over. It's fucked, but like it's a pretty powerful.
That's a little too deep for our podcast.
Yeah, it's rough, but it is a great film in terms of what it sets out to do.
Now, I'm gonna transfer us off of that because that's a little too deep for us to be getting into on the podcast tonight.
That is fair.
Just
that is totally fair.
Bohemian Rhapsody,
which I've
yet to see.
See, I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I've heard some interesting things about it, and it feels like Black Panther, like one of those movies that doesn't deserve it, but because it's got such zeitgeist, they're kind of like, yeah, whatever, throw it in there.
With Bohemian Rhapsody, the thing that I had a problem with was I was reading. I'm a huge Queen fan, and not just a huge Queen fan. I'm a huge Freddie Mercury fan, and I've written book reports about his life, and I've back in high school and college and stuff. Whenever we needed write a fucking essay about a famous person, I always chose Freddie Mercury because I'd done it 1,000 times, and I knew his life like the back of my hand at one point. And I heard that there's a lot of the story that's embellished, and a lot of the timelines don't match up, and it's wrong, and that makes me not want to see the movie.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Well, one of the reasons I didn't want to watch it was similar to that, but in terms of how they've embellished and changed things. The original person who was going to play Freddie Mercury was Sacha Baron Cohen,
who looks very, very similar.
Who kind of has that look to him. I mean, Rami Malek is great too. But he wanted to produce a much more faithful, realistic, and in some ways darker view of all of the events that transpired just around Queen in general, and just some of the harder parts of Freddie Mercury's life. And Freddie Mercury's bandmates were super against that.
Wasn't it Brian May came out and was like, no, fuck that.
Yes. And so what they did is they basically created a Disney-fied version of Freddie Mercury's life, which I was not a fan of, and is one of the reasons why I'm thinking, yeah, they probably just kind of threw it in there because people really liked it, even though it's not necessarily the greatest film or even super accurate. But
do they ever now in the movie? Do they portray Freddie as gay or bisexual?
That's a good question. I'm pretty sure it's bisexual, but I don't know the movie well enough to make the judgment.
I just want to make sure they get it right.
I know they gloss over a lot of major parts of his life that involve some of that as well, but I don't know what the end result is as far as the depiction in that regard.
Because a lot of people assume that Freddie Mercury was gay, and he was the first person to be like, no, I'm not gay. I like both men and women. So
he was a larger than life character with his own path.
Yeah, exactly. I love Freddie Mercury. Oh, fucking love Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
What else is on here? The Favorite?
And The Favorite, which I've heard some really great things about, and I kind of want to check out at some point.
Green Book?
Green Book, I've heard, is basically Driving Miss Daisy, but in 2018.
What's Roma?
Roma is a super interesting film that I'm actually watching through right now. It's on Netflix, actually, if anyone wants to see it, although it's very artsy, so keep that in mind. It was actually made by Alfonso Cuarón, the guy who directed Gravity, and what was the other movie that he won an award for?
I don't know.
You saw Gravity, though, right?
Nope.
Really?
That's the one with George Clooney dies and Sandra Bullock, right?
That's the one with Sandra Bullock that was like all the rage that year and was just about her being on the space station as shit goes down, trying to survive in space.
But George Clooney's in that movie too, and he dies early on.
He dies very early on, and then spoiler alert, he shows up a few times as a fever dream when she's trying to not die. It's the movie equivalent of a game that's just set pieces over and over again, but people liked how good the set pieces were, so they loved the film. But Roma is a black and white film about basically like she's kind of like a maid. She's basically like a caretaker working for a rich family living in a district of Mexico City called Roma that happens to be very upscale, and it's like an exploration of her life, and generally it's her life, but in a number of ways, but it's also just like a love letter to Mexican women as a cultural demographic and the things that they have to endure for their men. So it is very artsy fartsy. Like I said, it's black and white, takes place in 1960s Mexico City, is very, very, it's a lot of drama and a lot of slow shots and drawn out conversations and things. So I'd say it's worth checking out, but it is a very artsy film, so keep that in mind if you do watch it. Yeah, but Avengers got a special effects nom.
Yep. I want to see
cool.
Vice. That got a Best Picture nod.
I saw Vice, actually. I saw it when I was in Portland. It's an interesting film. I think it's worth watching. I think the guy who wrote it, I was a little disappointed because he also made The Big Short, which is a fantastic movie.
Yes, it is.
He seems to go out of his way to make it seem like Dick Cheney is a supervillain who is responsible for literally everything bad ever in American politics right now, which seems a bit much and seems like a bit of a stretch. But it is an interesting movie, and it attempts to give more insight into him as a person and as a character. I don't know how faithful some of it is, because I know that Dick Cheney is just like a super, I want to say almost like reclusive in terms of how little he is willing to give people in terms of his personal life and his thoughts and things. But it's an entertaining film. It's interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs got a nod for costumes. That's a really good movie that everybody should watch on Netflix.
That's the Coen brothers, right?
It might be. I don't know. It was good. It was supposed to be a TV show that they then were like, no, it's not going to be a show. We're just going to make it into a movie. It's an anthology. It's an anthology movie.
Oh, okay.
It's really good if you like Westerns. And if you don't like Westerns, it's just good.
If you don't like Westerns.
I'm trying to find anime. I'm looking for what got nods in the animated feature, because that's usually my favorite, to see who got nods in animated. All right, here it is: Spider-Man, Ralph, Mirari, Isle of Dogs, and Incredible 2. Isle of Dogs was this year?
Isle of Dogs was like the beginning of this year, I want to say. I didn't even end up seeing it, actually, even though I wanted to.
That's Wes Anderson, isn't it?
That is Wes Anderson stop motion, yes. And I was really glad Spider-Verse got the nom. Spider-Verse is pretty great.
Is that going to win?
I would like it to, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
What would win?
I mean, I'm thinking potentially like Isle of Dogs, or what else was there? Mirai,
Ralph, Spider-Verse, and Incredibles 2.
I guess I could kind of see Incredibles taking it, even if I don't think it deserves it. But
I haven't seen Ralph yet. I think Spider-Verse deserves it, especially with, like, I don't love the animation in there, in Spider-Verse, but it's good. Like, it's a good movie, and one movie is enough for me in that animation style, but...
You saw Incredibles 2, right?
No, I have not seen it yet.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if we talked about it or not.
But I have not seen it.
But you have not seen it.
That's like Solo. I own it. I have not seen it.
I mean, I don't know if you need to see Solo, but
yes,
it's nice
I do.
to have,
I love Star Wars.
Yeah, that's fair. I won't spoil much for Incredibles 2 then. I'll just say that I thought it was a really good movie. It's not quite as good as 1. And I feel like they kind of just made it for the sake of making a sequel rather than really having a strong reason to make a sequel. But that's all I'll say until you watch it yourself.
Isn't it just from what I've been told? It's The Incredibles 1, but Mr. Incredible and Mrs. Incredible are switched.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Yeah, it is similar to that premise in some ways. And that makes a lot of sense, actually, looking back on it as just an idea they pulled out of thin air because people wanted a sequel so badly. It had I will say it had a lot of sequences and like scenes that were interesting and entertaining and kind of funny, but add zero to the movie or the plot. Like they just feel there. But that's all I'll say. Go watch it. It's worth watching.
I'll watch it at some point.
Yeah.
I'll watch that if you watch Buster Shrugs.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen it a few times, and I know obviously Coen Brothers films are super well regarded, even if I haven't seen many.
Is it a Coen Brothers film?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm looking it up. You can probably hear I have a fucking mechanical keyboard, so it's clicky.
It's good. Check it out real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at Coen Brothers right now. List order. Release date. Thank you. Going places. Oh yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah, because I want to say that they made True Grit, and then it gave them a real hard on for westerns, and then they made Buster Scruggs.
True Grit's good. Burn After Reading was good too.
True Grit's really good. True Grit is one of their few movies I've seen, and it was really good.
Why did I think No
it.
Country for Old Men was Tarantino?
I don't know. I always knew it as a Coen Brothers
film. Not Tarantino.
Film.
Eastwood. I thought it was an Eastwood film.
Oh, what else has he done? I mean, he did Gran Torino.
Did Gran Torino come out around the same time as No Country for Old Men?
No, Gran Torino was at least a few years later. But he had another film before that was also really good that I'm blanking on now.
I'll look it up.
While we're looking at films, and I don't know if he's really done anything amazing since Gran Torino, but Gran Torino is a pretty damn good movie to hang your hat on.
Director. He directed Letters of Iwo Jima, Changeling. Gran Torino
right.
came out a year, like maybe a few months after No Country for Old Men.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I must be getting old.
Yeah, we are getting old.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, Letters from Iwo Jima, I remember, was supposed to be really good, was Flags of Our Fathers.
Yep, $1 Million Baby's really good.
$1 Million Baby is fucked, but that movie's really good.
The one where he kills her at the end.
It's the one where he kills her at the end because she's
paralyzed.
Spoilers for a 12-year-old movie, or however old it is. Yeah, because she goes into a fight with some bitch who's a crazy bitch, and the girl paralyzes her, and then Clint Eastwood kills her as a mercy blow, which is rough.
Yep.
He
directed the 1517 to Paris. That movie was bad. I watched that. That movie was bad.
That's why I'm saying he did Gran Torino, and then I don't think he's done anything really good since then. And I was thinking of that movie.
American Sniper was good.
American Sniper was good. American Sniper was an interesting film.
I think I might just like American Sniper because Bradley Cooper's in it, and I think Bradley Cooper is an amazing actor.
I think Bradley Cooper's fucking fantastic. I haven't seen A Star Is Born, which is his movie this year, but
that's the one where you get to see Lady Gaga's pussy, right?
You might. I hadn't heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I know the favorites. I know the favorites one where you finally get to see Emma Stone's boobs.
Do you really?
Yes.
Maybe I should watch The Favorite.
Don't mind me. I have like the hugest crush on. I've had the hugest like man boner for Emma Stone since Superbad.
Since Superbad, I mean, she was pretty great in Superbad. I was gonna say, I don't know if do you know what the favorite's about? Have you seen trailers for it or anything?
Isn't that the other like old English period movie?
Yeah, it takes place.
That's not Mary Queen of Scots.
Yeah, and I heard Mary Queen of Scots wasn't very good actually.
I'll end up seeing it because my wife is big on like period pieces.
Yeah,
and just for like the costuming.
Yeah, I partly wanted to see The Favorite because of that, but I've also heard it's a super goofy, weird-ass movie that has a lot of modern style dialogue and jokes, even though it's a period piece. And it's about a bunch of people vying for the Queen of England's attention because she's not quite on her last legs, but she's going a little crazy in her old age, and they want to be at the head of the pack when she dies, and it's a bunch of maids.
Oh, it's Queen Anne. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For anyone who knows English history.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of scheming and vying, and
I'd watch it as long as it's nothing like that shitty Snaggletooth movie with Marie Antoinette with Kristen Snaggletooth.
Kristen Snaggletooth?
Yeah, I fucking hate Kirsten Dunst. Oh, really? I hate that bitch.
What do you like about Kristen Dunst?
She's a bad actress.
I think she's all right. I mean,
she's like the worst part. She's the worst part of Interview with the Vampire. She's the worst. Her only good movie that I've ever seen is Melancholia, and that's because she takes her top off.
Wow, priorities.
I'm messing with you. Melancholia is actually a pretty good movie.
No, I've heard it is a really good movie. I haven't actually seen it. I was trying to remember the last movie I even saw with her in it, which was, it might have been Spider-Man. I can't remember what else she's really been in since then.
She's the worst part of Spider-Man 2.
That I really paid attention to. I mean, I knew she was in Melancholia, and I heard she was really good in it, but
that movie's fucked up, though.
I've heard that movie is fucked, which is one of the reasons why I haven't watched it yet, even though I've heard it's really good.
Do you know what movie is really good, and I really like it because it has one of my all-time favorite actors in it, but it's really a really fucked up movie?
What movie?
Having a Friend for the End of the World.
Is it? That's not surprising, but I wasn't sure how dark that movie was going to get based on the trailers.
It's the end of the world. It's Steve Carell being funny Steve Carell for most of the movie, and then at the end of the movie, the world ends.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I assumed it would just kind of...
Yeah,
whoopsie.
It's dark. It's just like, oh, everything's going to be fine, and everybody's dead.
And everybody's dead. That's cool.
And it's just like, oh, okay, thanks, Steve Carell. Because I love Steve Carell. I think he's a fantastic actor.
Oh, Steve Carell. Yeah, no, he's great. He's great. But what time is it? I feel like we've been going for a while.
We have been going for a while. It is 7:52. We've been going for about an hour and 12 minutes.
Okay. There was some game talk. There was some movie talk. There will be much more game talk next week.
There will be a lot more game talk next week when we talk about Resident Evil 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. And by next week, both me and Kaleb will have beaten Resident Evil 2, both scenarios, and found all the hidden shit and upgraded the Magnum and everything else that's in that game.
Maybe a couple times. We'll see what happens. Because Resident Evil 2, as a kid, was one of the few games that I literally would just play over and over again and beat over and over again because I just didn't give a shit and I liked it that much. So we'll see. We'll see how many times I end up playing through this one.
Is it sad that I'm sitting here going, man, I really want to know if this is in the game, but I'm not going to look it up because that's a spoiler. But I've played and beaten Resident Evil 2 like a billion times, so it's not really a spoiler, but it is?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I've heard some interesting comments about, like, I've heard references to things that aren't in it and things that have been added. Not, like, spoilerific, but, like, certain references to, like,
is Kendo in it? Like, I don't even know if Kendo is in the game.
Kendo is, I don't know if you saw the announcement earlier this week, but there is a roguelike, game, there's a roguelike style of campaign that unlocks after you beat the game, and he is one of the characters that you can choose to play as in it.
Like, I don't even know if this game starts off with, like, Leon in the police car and Claire on the motorcycle, and, oh, what, that guy bite me, and then the truck crashing and splitting the two up, and the white zombie getting shot in the head by Leon when Claire stops at the gas station. I've played a lot of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. A lot of that does appear to be in it. The original intro, I've actually seen the original intro for this new one, and it's very similar, which is great. But that's all I've been willing to see. I didn't want to go any further.
Is the mayor in it?
Yeah. According to the trailer,
does he still want to fuck Sherry?
Apparently, he's even more of a scary, sadistic asshole, and they build on that character.
Is his dead daughter still on the floor in his office?
Considering she is also one of the playable characters in that roguelike, yes. The roguelike itself doesn't the characters that you can choose to play in as in it are none of the playable characters in the main game. They are Kendo, they are the mayor's daughter, and they are a third person I can't remember off the top of my head, as well as others they haven't announced yet.
Now here's my question. This is the stuff that I want to know. Like, is Brad underneath the stairs? Is the stair, like, the tunnel still there?
Yeah, I'm going to be poking and prodding a lot when I'm playing. Just see what I can find and see what crazy shit there is. Because there's going to be a lot.
Like, there's so much stuff that I'm like we are now 4 hours.
We are 4 hours away.
away.
Yes.
When we started this podcast, we were 5 hours away. We are 4 hours away.
I have someone coming over tomorrow night to play through it with me, actually, so I'm going to hold off until then, or at least that was the plan. I might get to the police station tonight and then just start over tomorrow. We'll see. I might have to try it.
And when are we going to do our playthrough of it together?
We're going to need to do that very soon. I think, we should do that at some point soon. I do want to...
That's the other thing we have to do. We're going to do a full playthrough, by the way. That just for YouTube, that we're going to do a full playthrough of the game. We're gonna have audio commentary over it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be our first Let's Play as GDX. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to see how it goes on our end as far as whether it's something we can really do regularly, but I think it'll be fun just because we both know the first one so well, or the original one so well, and it's going to make for some interesting commentary.
Right. All right, let's wrap this up, though.
Yeah.
If you guys want to send us an email, you can send us an email to podcast@gamingdeath.com. New email address coming soon, guys, I promise. Write and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all that happy horse shit. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. I will definitely comment back. I always do. Like the video, all that good shit. But that's going to do it for tonight. I've been Chris.
I've been Kaleb.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night, guys.